So what do you think? I think it's turned out really well. I love the fact that it's padded and it's got plenty of room. You can adapt the size depending on what you want it for. So this is definitely a win, and I think these would make absolutely super gifts for people, maybe for Christmas or for their birthday. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. So I thought you might like to see this project I did over the weekend. It's a little book bag, a little pouch. I haven't added the closure yet. I'm probably going to do a button. So I'm going to do a little buttonhole here and add a button here so that I can fasten it there. And what I'm using it for is a notebook, and I'm going to pop a little pencil case with some pens so that I can have that with me when I'm journaling at night. Now, it's gorgeous fabric, isn't it? It was John Lewis, and it's got a lovely lining fabric as well. And I thought, you know what, I could do with making a few more of these. They're really cute, and I might actually do some applique on the front of some. So I thought I would show you how I did it, just in case you wanted to make something similar yourself. Now, this is big enough for my notebook, and also some pens to go in there as well. And you could do a closure with ribbon if you wanted to, or Velcro, or one of those little poppers on there instead. So that would be up to you. So this is how you do it. Now I'm actually making a slightly smaller one for my next one because I want it for similar size book, but I don't want to have so many pens because I might actually do a pen loop with it as well. So what you need to do is I can do a template for you, but basically this is the size I'm doing at the moment is I've measured it for my own purposes, but it's basically a sheet of A4, but it's folded, and then one side of it will be a rounded corner. But when you cut the fabric, if you just cut it to one sheet of A4, but everything is folded, so it's actually double the length of an A4 sheet, and that's what I'm doing at the moment. So just do your own measurements for the size that you want. And what you need is the 3 sheets of fabric. So this is my lining fabric, and this is going to be my front fabric, and I'm putting right sides together. So if this had a pattern on it, I'd want that pattern next to that pattern. So right sides together, and then the fabric that's going to be on the outside, so in this case it's this floral fabric here, I'm going to iron on my quilt batting. So you want exactly the same piece of quilt batting to match your front fabric and your lining fabric, and you will put your quilt batting on the back of your front piece of fabric, so it's going to sandwich it. So what we're going to do is put these 2 fabrics together, and also the batting or some nice squishy fabric, maybe some thick felt or something like that, just to give it a little bit of structure. You could use stabilizer as well if you prefer. So what we're going to do then is I've pinned it all together. You can see here it's all pinned together, and what I'm going to do, you can see I didn't cut that very well, but that's not a major issue. So what I'm going to do is sew all the way around here. I'll curve the edge because this is going to be my flap. I'm curving that edge, sewing all the way down here back to this edge, and I'm leaving this one open because I'm going to use this in order to turn it the right way round. So I'm going to go and do that. I'm actually using my serger, but you could easily just sew it, just do a running stitch or a back stitch all the way around it. As long as you leave yourself a little gap, then what you can do is just turn it the right way round, and I'll show you the next stage then. Now, if you're going to add any applique, you could, if you wanted to, just add that onto the front of your fabric before you add your lining fabric, but I'm going to do it this way just because I want to see how this size works before I actually do any applique. But what you could do is just do just a basting stitch, just to put your batting on the back of your front fabric, and then you could add your applique so that any stitches are hidden on the inside of your project, because you're going to be turning that the right way around, and then this is actually going to be hidden. But I'm actually going to go and serge it now, and I can add some applique later if I want to. Okay, so I'm back from the serger. I have sewn all the way around, and I've turned it the right way around, so I've got my outer part there, and I have turned in the end that I used that I haven't sewn, and I'm going to sew this up now. I do a stitch, so I pick up one side and then I pick up some of the other side, and it sort of has an effect of lacing up the edge, or you could just do a whip stitch on the end. You could even add something pretty like a piece of lace on the end just to emphasize that pouch. So I've sewn up that edge, which will form the edge of the pouch, and what I'm going to do now is probably do a sketch actually before I start, but I'm going to get some of my scrap fabrics out and I'm going to make some sort of design on this back part here. But like I said, I'll probably do a bit of a sketch first, just so I've got a general idea of what I want to do, and then that will be the back of the pouch, and this will be obviously the front of the pouch. Not sure what I'm going to do on the front yet. From the little sketch in the book, I've made myself a set of digital templates. So I just went onto Procreate and made them into a picture, and I have coloured them so that it gives me just a general colour pattern so that it's easy to see. What I'm going to do is cut those out and use them as templates. It's going to go on the back here, so I'm actually going to crop it down a little bit so that it all fits on, but I'll get the whole lighthouse on. And then what I'm going to do is go through my fabric stash, and this stuff has got the heat and bond light on the back of it so that it's easy to sew through, and I'll decide which pieces I want to go where, and I'm then probably going to use, I'm going to cut it out, and what I'll do is stick it on the back of here and use that to cut it out, so use it as a template that way. Now for the white, to avoid having to cut out all of these individual pieces, I'm thinking what I might do is just back it in the white and then just cut out red and the yellow and the blue on top of that. So I think I'm going to do that, and that'll save a lot of cutting of the smaller pieces like that. And just a little tip to avoid cutting items out twice, make sure you put your template pieces to one side when you've cut it, and sort of assemble your picture as you go, otherwise you could end up with little scraps and you're not entirely sure where they're supposed to go. And now I'm going to iron my pieces of fabric onto my backing fabric or my little pouch. So because I'm using Heat and Bond Light, I've got a paper backing on there, and I'm going to have to remove this, and there will be a shiny surface, if I can do that one-handed, and that's a glue, it's an adhesive. I've already ironed it onto my fabric scraps, which I have in my folders, and then I can just use them as I need them. So I remove the paper off the backing, I'll then put that down onto the fabric, and I will use an iron with a medium heat setting, so 2-spot without any steam. I use this little travel iron, it's absolutely invaluable to me. I have it next to me when I'm doing any creating, and I've made myself a tiny little ironing board out of an old game board, and I covered it with some batting. Actually, I think I may have actually used an old towel and a piece of old fabric, and I just tethered that to the back, and then I've got this here next to me so that I can use it whenever I want to. So basically you just need an ironing surface, a flat ironing surface, your base project, your pieces of scrap, remove all the paper from the back of your cut pieces, and then you want your little iron, which is no steam, and a 2-spot setting, so it's a medium setting, and then we're just going to iron each piece in place just for so maybe about 6 seconds. You'll tell when they're bonded. Don't try to piggle them, just bond them down, don't rub your iron over them, literally just set them, hold the iron in place over the top until the heat has melted the adhesive for about 6 seconds, 4 to 6 seconds, and then remove the iron and just let it cool a little bit, and then you'll be able to see whether it's bonded. If you use steam, or you rub your iron over the top, or you do it for too long and it's too hot, that can melt the glue too much, and it can cause it to not stick. So do make sure that you follow the instructions if you're using Heat and Bond Light or any other adhesive that's melted with an iron. So I'm going to do that now. I've lined the first pieces up, and I'm going to set those first with the iron. Hopefully I won't move it when I do this because I'm doing it one-handed. So I'm just going to pop my iron down. And then move it to the next piece. just need to make sure I do this edge. Now that should be set, and then I can do the next. That seems fine. So then I can do the next piece, which will be this. Now you may find that when you've cut things out, excuse my large hands there, as you've cut things out, it might not be perfect because you've done it by hand, but that's going to be fine because you're going to be sewing around it, so you can always infill with a few pretty stitches, and it's the overall look that you're going for. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lighthouse together now, and I'll show you what it looks like in a moment. So that's the lighthouse in place. Now this is a slightly thicker fabric, so I did have to do this for a little bit longer just to make sure that the heat did get through to the adhesive. Now because I've already put the white down, I don't need the white because I haven't cut any of that white. So what I'm going to do is just layer up my red over the top, because that's going to be that's still going to go in sections. And then, because it's okay to iron over the paper, that will be fine. Just make sure that that lines up with the edge of the lighthouse. And I need to make sure I've got enough room for my yellow light. And that goes sort of in the middle there, because I think I cut a little border, didn't I, for that? So that won't be right on the edge. It'll be about there. And then my cap about there. So that's how that will line up. So I'm going to now just pop the iron on there. Just make sure that that's definitely on the edge. Right then, I can't do this one-handed, so I shall see you in a moment. So that's the lighthouse done. You'll have to excuse the shaky filming. Unfortunately, I couldn't use my tripod and phone because my phone literally just died and I'm having to charge it, and the charging cable isn't quite long enough to reach the top of the tripod. So now what I need to do is think, what am I going to do with these windows? So I might cut some out, or I might just do a little bit of stitching, but either way I've now got to go ahead and stitch all these down, because even though they've got an adhesive on there and they're not going to come up anytime soon, with repeated use it will potentially cause curling of the fabric on the edge. It's raw edge applique, so I didn't have to tuck it in at all. I've literally just put it straight down because it's got the glue on the underside. There shouldn't be any fraying, and it's not going to be washed repeatedly, so it shouldn't cause any fraying. But obviously with any raw edge applique, potentially you could get a little bit of fraying, but you shouldn't do with the Heat and Bond light on the back of it. But now what I need to do is just sew that down. So I'm going to go around the edge of every single little piece with just a basic straight stitch, running stitch, and just make sure it's all completely fixed down to the little pouch. And then after I have done that, I'll add some details, and then I will consider whether I'm going to add any more items on this lighthouse, or whether I'm just going to stitch it up and use it as it is. I have of course got to decide what colour to stitch around in, and I'm not entirely sure yet whether to just go with the same colour that I've already put down there, or maybe if I go in black, then that might make it stand out. So I've got to make that decision. You'll find out in a minute. So here's how it looks so far. I've added a few little details using some stitching. I didn't bother cutting any bits out, but I could even use some fabric pens on there as well if I wanted. But at the moment I'm just keeping it as some simple stitching because I want to get this video finished. And what I'm going to do next is just sew up my sides, just like I did with the front, how I did the little stitch that's sort of picking up some from one side and then from the other side, and I just lace it up the side, and then that will make the pouch, and then it's going to be finished. And I've laced up the sides, and this is the back, and I absolutely love it. I'm quite happy with it as it is, but you could easily add a few more details if you wanted, with those gorgeous crashing waves the stylized waves at the back, either using applique or maybe even add a little bit of embroidery on there. And of course you could add the light going out there again using an embroidery or using the fabric, and that would look really cool too. So I absolutely love it. I think it looks so cute. And as it happens, I didn't think it was going to be quite big enough, but it's the perfect size for my iPad. So I don't actually need it for my iPad, but it just goes to show that this template will work for, I think it's a 9.7 inch iPad. So there we go. But actually I wanted it for a notepad cover, so it will be one of the, it won't be this one, but it will be an A5 top spiral bound notebook cover, and that's what it's going to be for. So I didn't want quite so much room at the side, but just enough so that I could pop a pen in there, and I may be making a little pen loop to go around it in another video. So I do hope you've enjoyed seeing this, and if you have, please do give me a thumbs up, because I really do appreciate it, and you can feel free to share it wherever you like as well. And I may be adding these templates onto my website so that you can purchase those if you wish. I'm not sure whether I'll add them onto Etsy or not, because the fees on Etsy are quite high for low priced items. So if you do want the applique, let me know, and I'll probably put a link to my website below as well. And do give me a thumbs up, and remember to come back next time. Take care, bye. So what do you think? I think it's turned out really well. I love the fact that it's padded and it's got plenty of room. You can adapt the size depending on what you want it for. So this is definitely a win, and I think these would make absolutely super gifts for people, maybe for Christmas or for their birthday. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving it.